This podcast was recorded on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mad About You. Today we are chatting over something that I have actually kind of already shared on Instagram. So I posted a story the other day and it was basically me sharing a list of things that I wanted to achieve postpartum so that I felt more confident, you know, in my new life as a mum. But before we kick things off, Locke has a story that I have been begging him to share with you guys because I think it is so crazy. So, Locke?
All right, she's really hyped this story up. I don't see it in that way. Like, it's definitely a fun story, but I don't know about crazy.
I think it's wild.
I'll tell it, and you guys can decide yourselves. So, this is actually a story back when I was late teens. I think I was around 17, and I was dating this girl, and it was new and exciting. And we were getting to the stage where you're really liking girls, you're wanting to hang out with them, you're pushing all other things in your life aside to spend time with them, and the only thing about this girl was I didn't have my driver's license at the time, and she lived out in Terry Hills and I lived on the North Shore. So it was quite a hefty journey out there. And, I know my parents listen to this podcast, so I'm sorry in advance, Mum and Dad, but...
Wait, do they not know?
I might have divulged a little bit.
Okay.
But so this girl lived out in Terry Hills, and I would try and go see her on the weekends in the evening. Now, my parents were definitely not okay with this, so I would have to sneak out of the house. And let me tell you, where I lived to get out to Terry Hills on a Saturday evening let's say I snuck out at midnight, there was no public transport, so I had to get a cab, right? And the way I made money for the cab is like during school, I had a paper run. I coached basketball, through my studies, and I made a little bit of money. It was not much, but it was enough to get back and forth to Terry Hills on the weekend, which was, let's say, a $55 cab either way. So $110 round trip, which let me tell you, it's steep when you're 17.
Oh, yeah.
But I lived on the ground floor of my house, and I closed the door behind me. It was a sliding door, and I would lock it with a key, right? But it also had a bolt lock at the top. But I would only lock it with a key. So obviously I could, unlock it from the outside and sneak back in when I needed to.
At least you were locking it. Good on you.
Oh, yeah. I'm very good with security, as you know. So sneak out to this girl's house. I get there. We're, doing what young kids do. We're excited to see each other. And we have a little bit of an argument and a fight. I don't remember the reason why we had the fight, but we had this fight whereby it was pretty much like a breakup fight. Like, it was a bad argument at 17 to be having with someone, especially like 1 a.m. when you're in their house. You're trying to be quiet so their parents don't hear you, yada, yada. So we have this argument to the point where I leave, right? And I go, stuff this. So I walk out. I'm in the middle of, she lived in the middle of butt F nowhere, right? In Terry Hills. And it was this weird time where I knew that if I waited till later in the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m., it would be quite easy for me to get another cab.
Sure.
But if I left at this weird time, like 1, 2 a.m., it was kind of like no cabs are out there and no one was taking calls. So I got to this stage and I was pissed off. I was sitting on the side of the road and I went, you know what, stuff this. I'm going to walk home. Not walk home, but I'm going to walk, until it gets to a time where there's a cab or until I get somewhere that's a little bit more...
How did you know which way to go?
A little bit busier.
Did you have a phone with maps then?
No, I just knew... What do you mean? I'd go to a house all the time. And I
you just
looked out the window
route.
when the taxi went.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I start walking, the direction of my house and just go, I'll get a cab on the way or. And then I was so pissed off and in this absolute state, and I was not really thinking that I started just chucking my hand out to hitchhike. And this is something that I would never do. Like, I'm not really that type of guy. That I wasn't that confident at 17 that I would get in a car with strangers at 2 a.m. So I'm walking along, pissed off. I'm walking for about an hour, and I've realized I've got absolutely nowhere. Like, as in, I'm a long way from anywhere. And so I'm walking, and then this car pulls over. Like, when they didn't pull over behind me, they went in front of me, and I was like, oh shit, like this is. And I was a bit freaked out. I was like, okay, what do I actually do now? Like, this is a bit scary. I'm 17. It's 2 a.m, and this car full of people has stopped and pulled over, and they one of them gets out the car and literally just goes, "Hey!" And I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And then a couple of these other blokes get out of this car, and they're about my age as well, and they start like hyping each other up, and they're like, "What the hell? This is crazy!" And I'm like, "Do they think I'm like, Iron Man or something, like some sort of celebrity? What is going on?" And they go, "Oh, we played you in soccer today," and I was like, "What?" And they go, "Oh, we played for, whatever team it was, Linfield or something. Like, you played us in soccer today. Like, we had a great match. Like, da, da, da." And I was like, "No bloody way." So these dudes had obviously been out on like a Saturday night at a party or something. They were driving home in their car. None of them were drunk or anything. They were just, driving home. And so these dudes in the middle of nowhere have gone, "We'll help you get home." Yeah. And so I'm like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." So I get in the car with these random dudes I played soccer with that day. And we're driving home from Terry Hills to the north. They live near me, and I was just like, "Look, just drop me somewhere close." And we start to chatting. We're all hyped. This is crazy. I'm stoked. I'm getting home. I'm saving $55. And then they go, "Oh, let's stop for a feed or something." And I'm like, well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to get home for hours. So yeah, why not? So we stop at Macca's, and we're just like these bunch of larrikin lads having a meal. And I'm just like, in this weird state of like, this is kind of cool, this is kind of weird, but like, whatever, I'm getting home. So that was all well and good and exciting, and just, never could have picked that. And it was scary, and then it was fun, and it was great.
I just can't believe, like, if for all of those things to align, like,
so weird. And the day I played them.
The day you played, not a week later, not a month later, like the day you played soccer against these people who have just happened to drive past you in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like they...
the right moment, or you're on the right street, and they've stopped as well. They could have just kept going.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even think it's not, they didn't know it was me from the back of my head. It's they just were probably a bunch of confident lads and just went, "Oh yeah, we'll help out this person." And then it just happened to be me.
Like,
and so,
what are the chances of that?
Yeah, it's so weird. But then it gets a little bit even funnier. So they drop me close to home, and I get like a cab home, and it cost me whatever, $15 or something. So I get home, I go to my back door, I put my key in to unlock it. I unlock it, and then I pull the door, and it's locked. And I go, "Oh shit, I'm caught." I go, "My parents have found out that I've snuck out. They've bolt locked the door, and they've just gone, oh, we're going to ruin this kid in the morning," So I call my sister, who's upstairs asleep. It's like 5 a.m. at this stage. I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm really sorry. Can you come let me in? I'm at my back door. Like, I snuck out." And she's like, "Yeah, sweet, no worries." I used to help her sneak out, so it was all good.
She owed you one.
She knew what was what. And then she opens the door.
Sorry, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Do your parents know your sister used to sneak out, or have you just outed her?
She's married. She's married to the guy she used to sneak out and see. So it's all good. So she lets me in. I go to bed, and I just like, I can't sleep because I'm like, one, I had this rubbish night. I'm pretty much broke up with this girl I'm seeing. Yeah, seeing the lads and getting lift home was exciting, but now my parents have found I've snuck out. I'm going to be grounded. This is going to be rubbish next month or so, and then. I wake up in the morning after I've had some, not good shut-eye, and I go out, I like sheepishly walk into the kitchen. I see my parents, and they're kind of just like, making coffee, making breakfast, and then they start talking to me like normal, and I'm like, "Oh, these sneaky guys, they're playing this very well," And then after a while, they just don't say anything, and I'm like, "Okay, like, all right, I get it."
Playing this too well.
I'm like, I'll probably cop it later. I don't know, maybe people are coming over and they don't want it to kick off before they come over or something. And then my brother walks into the kitchen, and he just kind of like stares at me and just like starts really cheekily grinning. And I'm like,
do I know which brother this is?
"Oh, I can. You can only guess." Yeah. My brother Jono, my second oldest brother, he'd gone down to show me something in the middle of the evening, like, a video, or, he used to play online poker. So maybe he won a big hand or something and just wanted to come and show me how much money he'd won. And obviously noticed that I was gone, and then thought it would be funny to go and bar lock the door so I couldn't sneak back in.
Oh my God, what a talk.
And then didn't even think about like what would actually happen. They just went to sleep, the idiot. Yeah. And so he didn't even know. And I'm sure he probably assumed I would have called him to get back in or something. But this guy had locked the door. And so I thought I was going to be an absolute strife from the parentals. They didn't even find out. Didn't care less. My brother thought it was the funniest thing ever. And, now that I look at it, it is pretty funny. And lucky nothing bad happened. And it's all, it was all smooth sailing. But that was a moment where I had a shocking night. It turned good, returned shocking. And then in the morning, turned good again.
I love that story. Thanks for sharing that, Bob.
It is a fun one, but yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Don't date people out of your geographic location if you don't have a car, guys.
Absolutely. Have a
Do you know
way.
how much money I spent on taxis?
I know. I
to go
did the
see that
same
girl?
thing with an ex, yeah.
Oh my God. And when we broke up,
Yeah.
like she did something shady, right?
Did you bill her?
I wanted to. I wanted to invoice her and go, look, this is, let's say I've come over 20 times, $100 a time. You owe me $2,000 because this is ridiculous. But yeah, guys, that's the dating story for
Great
this week.
story.
So hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, I don't condone getting in cars with strangers unless you've played sport with them that day.
So I shared a story, as I mentioned previously, on Instagram recently, and there was actually a couple of stories. So I was talking about the fact that, you know, as a new mum, I kind of had a bit of anxiety around doing the things that I used to do every day, but doing them with Fletcher, and doing them with Fletcher alone, I think, is kind of what's key here. So what I did for myself in those kind of earlier weeks was I wrote a list of the things that was important for me to kind of accomplish on my own so that I could prove to myself that, yeah, I can do this. I can go back to my old life. Not old life, but, you know, I can do the things that I used to do in my everyday life that were important for me to continue doing. And, you know, prove to myself that I was fully capable of you know, being a new mum and doing these things. So some of those things were, you know, it included like breastfeeding in public and going to the shops on my own, basically just everyday life items. And, you know, it might sound, if you're not a parent, kind of really easy things to do. But when you become a new parent, everything that you do is really heightened. There's just this emotional kind of baggage that's attached to these really simple scenarios, and they don't feel very simple anymore. And most of the reason for that is that you're kind of worried that, well, I was at least, that, you know, Fletcher might be unhappy or throw a tantrum or be really sooky in public and be really loud. And I was afraid that I wouldn't know how to deal with that. So, you know, once I realized I'd kind of written this list out, it was, you know, the fact that I wasn't confident doing those things was basically just a blanket for I'm not so confident in being able to handle him if he's not handle him, but, you know, manage a situation where he's really upset and I'm in public and people are looking at me.
Yeah, it's very different, I think, than when you're in the safety and security of your own home and your own, you know, our bedroom. We spent a lot of time in the first couple of weeks. And it's like, you know, if he's losing his marbles in there, it's like you're in a safe, comfortable environment. There's no one looking at you. There's no one judging you, you know, and when you're out in public and these things do happen, you know, he might be unsettled. He might, you know, do a number two in his pants and hate be sitting in his pram and you know, he needs to get out or he might get hungry. And, you know, sometimes the only way of calming them down is to put them on the boob or something. And if you haven't breastfed in public, like that can be quite an anxiety-inducing, you know, thing. So yeah, I definitely understand how that would be different. And for you more so than me, obviously I can't breastfeed and do half the things that, you know, need to be done to keep him alive. So your job is much more difficult in that regard. Yeah.
So like the thought of, you know, pulling out a boob and putting him on the boob in public is already quite stressful for your first time mum, let alone having to do that while he's kind of screaming in my face and people are looking around and like, yeah, that's the thought of that just really stressed me out. So I wrote this list, and for me, this list was a way to kind of compartmentalize that anxiety and sort of shine a different light on those kind of activities, in that instead of it being this thing that was really kind of scary and confronting, just prove to myself that it was just a part of my life that always had been a part of my life, except now I had the addition of Fletcher. And I really kind of needed to switch my mindset from thinking this is going to be a stressful situation or I'm really anxious about this to I can do this. Mums have been doing this for millennia, you know. Everyone before me who's been a mum has come and done it before me, and they've all survived and they've all been okay, and crying babies have always existed. This is not a new thing, and it's okay if my baby cries in public and if I don't know how to make him stop straight away because he's a baby and I'm not always going to have the answer straight away. And, you know, people will be all right with that. And the people who aren't all right with that will have a thought about it and probably move on with their lives 10 seconds later. So I basically just brought myself back to those thoughts over and over whenever it kind of came time to try something new that I was stressed about. And the thing that I found was that almost everything that I did when I actually did them weren't nearly as scary as the thought of going out and doing them. I think it's like, leaving those four walls of that room. It's winter and we've got a house that's like really cold. So we literally hardly left the bedroom. I actually had many days where in the beginning of his life, I didn't even go downstairs. Like I had no idea what was going on in the downstairs area of the house. You'd bring me all my food. I'd go to the bathroom. I'd go back to the bedroom, and that's where I lived. So breaking out of the four walls of the house and going and doing something new. And a couple of them I just did really organically. So I got to tick them off without even trying to do them. For example, I remember you and I went for a walk one day and we wound up at a cafe, and it was the first time that we'd sat outside at a cafe. That was one of the things on my list. I wanted to make sure that I could go and sit at restaurants or cafes again. That was really important to me because I really enjoyed doing that, and I want to be able to do it with my baby. And he slept pretty much the first, I think 15 times we went to a cafe. He just slept every time we were there, and that was totally fine. And now when he does rouse or, cries, we just deal with it, right? We just pick him up or take him for a walk, or it's really actually not that scary at all. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, what you do. And, you had your little list, and you would do something on the list and you would message me, and you'd go like, I'm in the city, and I took Fletcher and it's so exciting, and it was so easy to get on the train and, whatever. But it's those little things that build confidence, and it's like it becomes like a little snowball effect. So you do one and then it rolls into the next one, and then you go, oh, that was easy, I'm gonna try this one, and then you do it, and you realize that it is quite an easy thing, and it pulls back to that, we often suffer more in our minds than we do in reality.
Yes.
It's you probably worked it up heaps in your head about how scary and hard this is, when in reality all it takes is you to pack the pram up, have his nappies ready, have his towel ready, you're his food, and nothing can go wrong. All he needs is you, and that's fine. And as you said, if he cries, you deal with it.
And we had a couple of, when you kind of, I guess what I also did was I reminded myself of what the worst case scenario was. So I kind of asked myself these questions, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Baby cries, baby does a big poo, I need to deal with it in public. And those things do happen, and they happen all the time, and you do just deal with it, right? You're in the moment, you're focusing on your child, you're not really actually focusing on everyone around you. I mean, that's how I feel anyway. So that was a nice realization. Also asking yourself, I think people need to ask themselves, what's the best thing that could happen if I go out and I try this new thing? It doesn't even have to be related to having a baby. It can be something in life that's been a bit daunting for you. What's the best case scenario?
Ask the girl for a number at the cafe.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. What is the best case scenario? You get the phone number. What's the worst case scenario? You don't get the phone number. So, this fear of rejection or a bit of embarrassment that really is so fleeting that we can reframe in our minds to, what is the best thing that could happen, and really focus on that instead of focusing on the negative outcome.
You say that like it is very easy, and let me just tell you that no,
it's not.
Very recently, we went for a walk in the city. It's literally a couple of days ago on Sunday. We delved into the city just to go for a walk with Fletch and get out and about. And we were in Darling Harbour, and he started losing his marbles. And, it was probably time for him to have some food, but there was nowhere really appropriate to literally even sit. There was only like restaurants and venues on the water, as I'm sure you guys know. And then every single, park bench or something that was on the water was in like direct sunlight, which, probably wasn't good for him. So, he was in the pram and he was wailing, and we're walking through like a busy Sydney city on a sunny Sunday, and people are looking at you, and you get in your own head and you start thinking to yourself like, oh shit, like these people are judging me, like, do I know what I'm doing? They probably think I don't know what I'm doing, like they probably think I'm a bad parent, like you start getting in your head. And so my thing was to, I'm going to pick him up and give him a cuddle and bring him out, and I did do that. And then I even felt more seen. I'm like, oh, now they can actually see him losing his marbles. And I was like, now he's screaming more. And every person that it walks past, looks at you and you're wondering, oh, what are they thinking? Like, do they think? And that is a bit of a scary thing. But I think you do need to remind yourself that I've encountered hundreds of crying babies in my life, whether that be at the shops or at the movies or in airplanes or whatever. And you look at it. Maybe you think something, maybe you do judge for that 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And then let me tell you, I didn't think about it. 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later. So I think you just do have to remind yourself that, although in the moment you feel like, this is the most crazy, daunting thing and I just want to get out of this space and I want him to be okay. You just have to remind yourself that, all these people are just looking because it's a loud noise and, I'm sure they've all been through it and 10 minutes later they're not going to think twice about it.
Yeah, I admittedly used to look at parents who had screaming children, on a plane, for example. I think that's a perfect example. I think a lot of people have experienced this. And before I knew anything about babies or kids, really, I thought that the parent was doing a bad job. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. That's just what I thought when I was young and naive. And I think that's what's so scary for everyone is they remember having those thoughts themselves. Like I know plenty of people who have that same kind of or had that same kind of mentality. But now having been a parent, having had the baby, or just even being around babies, you realize and learn very quickly that a lot of the time there's something going on and there's nothing you can do about it, or there's nothing you can do about it at that given moment. So, baby might be on a plane, the plane's taking off, and it really needs to have a nappy change or something. But
its ears might be popping or something.
Yeah, but you can't get up in the
know.
middle of the plane taking off and go and change a baby's nappy. Or you can't walk around the plane and bounce them like you might do in your bedroom to get them to drift off to sleep when they're really tired and cranky. I very much realized that I was one of those people who had those thoughts, and I feel so bad for all the times that I ever did because I just can't. Now I just empathize so much. I look at someone and go, oh, you poor thing. Like, I wish I could help you, but like, God, I've got my own baby that I'm trying to manage on my own. So yeah, your mind kind of shifts a little bit. And when you realize that, yeah, people who've had kids know what you're going through and they empathize with you, and the people who don't just can't really understand that yet, it really softens that anxiety for you a little bit, or it did for me at least. And, I find it interesting that you bring up that example where we'd gone for a walk in the city, because when he was screaming, I remember pushing the pram and thinking, I really need to feed him. I really just need to find somewhere to feed him. I actually wasn't really paying attention to anyone around us. I think I just had tunnel vision and I was like, where the fuck can I stop and feed my baby, And I couldn't find anywhere, and it was really making me stressed. That was making me more stressed than the thought of someone looking at me going, oh, bad mum, Because like I said, the people who know, they get it, and they're not judging you. But yeah, I think sometimes the thing is with confidence is I think there's like two very different types of confidence that I've kind of, stumbled across. And I think you and I both have established those two types. Whereas to explain basically, Locke's kind of confidence is one that is well prepared and practiced and thought out, and correct me if I'm wrong, or do you think I'm on the right path here?
Sure.
Whereas I remember since I was a little girl, for some reason, don't ask me why, it's probably my mum, I have just this blind confidence in life sometimes, not with everything. And yeah, I still have my moments of like anxiousness and I have to overcome that. And I've come in and out of this confidence, but I've had this weird blind confidence to the point where I remember when I was a little girl, I would have been, maybe like 11 years old. I had this swimsuit and it was bright yellow. It was a one piece. And at the time I had a bit of I was quite round, I had this round belly. Basically, I wore this swimsuit one day to the pool and someone called me a golden potato. And I just remember for some reason going, yeah, I am a golden potato. And I actually made it my email address because I thought it was this really fun thing that, was clever and exciting. And
you always said that you did that. You always said the way you got around bullying or,
but
letting people get under your skin was to, laugh at yourself because that helps.
But I hadn't really learnt that properly by then. Maybe I had actually.
Maybe subconsciously you had.
Anyway, so I had I was always interested in like performing in front of people for some reason and like that sort of thing, I'd take it and make it my own. And, this thing that people were teasing me about, I went and made it my first Hotmail. So yeah, I think that, with confidence in life, I've also taken Locke's approach. Like now I very much have to take that approach. Otherwise, it's not really coming from anywhere. Like I've kind of, your confidence is capped a little bit, the natural confidence, and then you have to build on it.
Oh, I could definitely tell that you had it. Like when I met you, it was a very attractive quality. Like you were so confident in everything that you did, everything that you said. Like
Just
you
a bit blind. Yeah.
You exuded this aura, and it's super attractive. Like I really, really like that in you. But yeah, it is sometimes blind confidence, because I'll ask you a question about like, well, why do you feel like that? Or why are you doing this? And you have no idea and you can't tell me. And that is, I mean, it's a good thing.
Wait,
and
what do you mean?
Could perhaps be a bad thing.
I can't tell you.
Well, like when I ask you a question, like you just go like, oh, let's go and shoot this campaign overseas and let's just do it. And
I have said that.
And we'll do it at this resort.
Times.
And I'll go, well, are you sure that's the right idea? Like it's gonna cost this and this, and we haven't really done swimwear before, so we need to think about ROI and and then you'll just be like, no, let's just do it, and we do it, and it works out, and so it can be a positive because it opens new doors for us and pushes us in new directions. But then there's also been times in life where maybe it's shot us in the foot a little bit as well. But
oh, do you think?
Yeah, perhaps, but I don't know if I even want to share those ones.
What do you like? When?
Oh, like when...
Now you have to.
When you, like, went on a lavish holiday with your mum before paying your tax bill and then came home
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine now.
Everything was fine.
It meant that the next year was, we'd had to pull back a little bit.
Did we?
Well, you
was
might
that
have not, but
sweetheart?
I did.
Do you... Was it pre-wedding?
Yeah, when it rained, it poured.
Right. I think
period.
we just, you know what? We've had this discussion. Yeah. When I set a budget in the past, the budget's been like a rough number, and I've learnt, through that's not how budgets work. So
absolutely not.
Unfortunately, I went on the holiday, and then we actually went on another massive holiday that year before we had the wedding. That was crazy scenes.
Yeah, I was terrified every day waking up.
Locke was freaking out. We're okay. We're all right, guys.
Yeah,
we're not going to start a GoFundMe.
As Jad said, there's different, types of confidence. And I think that, my view on this is that competence is confidence. And so
I like that.
The more that you get competent at things, the more confident you feel. And, you can have that with your baby, whether it's, as Jad said, like ticking off things on a list, and then you do it once and then you do it 10 times. And then it's like, you don't even think about it. It's just like drinking water, breathing air. It's just natural and normal, And, I felt that with, going away with our new family. You start, you have them, feel very safe and secure in your own house, but then there came a time where we needed to go away for, I think it was Christmas in July with my family, and it was a couple of hours away, where all my family got together, and that was quite a daunting thing for us because he was only 5 weeks old. We pretty much never left the house, like besides, seeing family 10 minutes away or going to a cafe or something. And you have to pack up everything that he owns. And you're driving there and you're fearful the whole time. Like, how's he going to be in a new room, new smells, new environment? We don't have a rocking chair. We don't have the certain things that help us get him to sleep each night. And you go there, and then, we were staying in a house with my whole family. And the whole time I was like, oh, every time he cries, like if it's 2 a.m, like I'm anxious about waking people up, and like ruining their weekend. And so you do, like, all these thoughts, just sort of enter your mind as you become a new parent. And then, you do it. And, I have lots of siblings, of which, half of them already have kids. So they've been through it. And so, you're reminded, like, no, these people understand, if the baby starts crying in the night, they've been there for years. And obviously my parents understand because we are their kids. And then, they, as I said to them, I said, oh, look, I'm really sorry about last night. And everyone would say, don't worry, like, as in we understand, it's fine. And it's those, little conquers that you have. You go, you spend the night or two away, you realize, look, he might not have slept the best. We were up with him, for a few more hours than normal, but that's the nature and reality of learning to do something new. And you do it once, and we've done it again since, and it got a little bit easier. It wasn't perfect, it was a little bit easier. And I know that we're planning on doing it again, maybe next weekend or even this weekend. And I'm confident that, it'll be a little bit easier that time, because you learn and adapt. And I'm sure once we've done it 10 times, it'll be like nothing. And so, yeah, that to me is, I see confidence as competence. And the more you do something, the more confident you'll get. It's as simple as that, really.
How do you break that barrier of the fear before you build the confidence? I think that's the hardest part, right? It's taking that first step. And I think that...
Absolutely, that's the difficult part.
Yeah.
Is to, like, yeah.
I agree with you. competence helps build the confidence. But in order to take that first step, you can't come from a place of already knowing, you know? It's like you're coming from a place of fear, right? And I think it's really easy to get trapped in living from a place of fear. I mean, I know I've kind of had an experience with that over the past few years where I've had to reshift my mind from it's kind of reprogrammed to be like, what if this? And that's kind of scary. And, oh, but I can't try that because then that might happen. And I think that what is really helpful is, and again, I think I touched on this at the start, is like reframing your mind to think about the best case scenario. And I think one example that I like to kind of bring back to myself that I find really helpful is thinking of, the best things that have sort of happened in my life, like those really exciting moments. I don't think any of them have come from a situation where I've lived in fear and decided to sit at home and not go try something, Every one of those moments have come from me taking a big leap, and trying something that's a bit scary and daunting. And, if you're in a similar place where you kind of stuck in a rut with thinking fear-based thoughts, I would encourage you to do the same. Think of, something that's been really exciting for you in your life that has made you really happy, or something that you feel has been a huge accomplishment, and try to pinpoint where that kind of stemmed from. And I bet you 99% of the time, I'm sure there are cases where it's a bit fluked. It's you going and doing something new, trying something scary, taking a risk. So I think what you need to do before you build that competence is remind yourself of these moments, and bring yourself back to these thoughts that empower you to then take that first step.
Sure. And when you say that, that's the hardest part is doing the first step. Like I totally couldn't agree more. But I also think that action alleviates anxiety.
Yes.
So as in, like, if you are feeling anxious about something,
yes,
if you sit in that anxiety and those anxious feelings, you're not going to get anywhere. Things are going to get worse. They're going to fester in your mind. They're going to build, and they're going to become more daunting. Whereas, like, if you just take the smallest action, whatever that may be in your life, towards something that's giving you that anxiety, that's the only way to alleviate that. And I've definitely recognized that in my life. And it does feel like such a weight off the shoulders when you do finally do that, and for example, even this podcast, for example, like when we started doing this, like I don't think we were not confident and we weren't competent. Neither. We'd never done it. We'd never taken lessons. No one had taught us how to chat it to each other like this, or talk in a mic and I don't know, tell stories the way we do, whatever it may be. But as in, you get in, you try it, you're shitting yourself the first couple of weeks. And so people, like, I don't know.
Is that what that smell was?
No, yeah, classic. But, the first weeks that we did this, like, I had butterflies, like, was nervous, like, felt literally sick to the stomach.
I'm still nervous.
Being here, but you come and you do it. And let's say off the bat, like, people might have listened and been like, oh, wow, those two are really confident speakers and da-da-da. But little do they know, actually, you're not, but it's like now we walk in and we're excited to, chat with our producers and see how they're doing. And we're just excited to get in here and start talking. But that's the competence that you've built through the action to alleviate the anxiety you felt at the start. Yes. So it's like this circular thing that you really just need to, it might be, rough advice, but you just need to get up and do it sometimes.
And I think you said this to me recently. It was actually on that walk that we were on. I struggle with indecisiveness. Like the reason that something doesn't get done is because I'm just jumping between two things. I think you told me to just pick one. Was that you?
Yeah. Normally when we have these conversations.
You said not you, but you saw it or read it somewhere recently, not picking.
The actual saying was, they said that often we stress about a decision for longer than it would take to just do the task of the decision.
Yeah, that was really eye-opening for me. Now I'm just doing things. And that's really helped me because, you don't give yourself time to freak out about it. So that's our piece of advice for you guys is make a decision and just get started.
Yeah, and if you want any one-on-one life coaching, Jad's going to offer that soon. So,
am I?
I don't know.
Sounds like something I do. I like that.
Yeah, you would.
We should do that.
You and your mum should do it together.
I'm going to do telehealth.
What, just put your number on the web and just get people to buzz you with issues?
Yeah, do I need to be qualified?
Well, the thing is, they need to be saved in your phone because you don't pick up any numbers that you don't have saved. So that's going to be a pretty unsuccessful venture,
All
I
right,
think.
guys, don't call me.
All right, guys, in true Mad About You form, we are ending with our Ask Mum and Dad segment. Now, I got this DM from a lovely lady who will remain anonymous, and she said, I, 24F, which is very internet speak. I don't
It's
really...
female speaker.
Yeah, I don't see that often. Met Justin, 26M, on Bumble. He ticks all my boxes and we get along very well. So far, we've seen each other about 4 times, once a week. I'm just not sure if he likes me. We kissed last time we saw each other, and then I told him I like him, and he said he likes me too. I'm not sure if he really likes me because he does not text me in between the dates at all. Normally he texts like 2 days before to plan something and then we meet. But no good morning, how's your day been, or chit chat in the middle. I've gotten to know him a little bit and it does seem like he's not on his phone a lot. He uses Twitter and Instagram, but just to keep in touch with family. I've had one other boyfriend before and dated a little on Bumble, and all the guys always text me at least once a day, so this is very different to me. What do you guys think? Does he like me or does he not?
That's weird.
Jad, you can tackle this first, being a woman who perhaps has been in a scenario like this in the past.
You were terrible at texting. Is that what you were referring to?
No, I just meant
Locke
like...
would do this thing where he'd pretend his credit ran out and then he wouldn't.
Can we help this woman first?
Sorry, it's a potential scenario for her though. What if he's prepaid?
Yeah, okay.
Look, I'm big on texting, so I would find this really difficult actually, because I like to continue establishing the relationship in those interim periods, especially if you're only seeing someone once a week.
Jad likes to see where you are, what you're doing at all times.
Yeah, send me your location.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I don't know. I think it's a tricky one, you know? I think when you're younger, I think people are on their phones a lot more, and it might be, way more exciting to get, texts back and forth throughout the day. And depending on your schedule, let's say you're at uni or something and you don't mind being disturbed. But I think as you sort of get older, I would just keep in mind that, a lot of people have, 9 to 5s that can be quite demanding and need them to be focused. So whether he's a tradie or a doctor or an engineer, whatever he may be, it's like, I understand not being on your phone the whole time and not chit-chatting back and forth. But if it's something that you really need and, it makes you feel sad, unwanted, insecure, like, feel free to let him know, like, hey, I'd appreciate a couple, more texts during the day if that's what you want. But
what if she hasn't messaged him either and he thinks she's not messaging?
That is a conundrum. So, yeah, if you're not doing that, if you're just waiting for him to reach out, perhaps he's doing the same.
Maybe he's like, this chick's weird, never messages me.
Yeah, but I don't know. One of my best mates is actually dating someone quite new, and same scenario. It's going really well. They're really enjoying each other's company, and role reversal. He said that he wishes that they were communicating a bit more, but she's got quite a demanding career, and so I kind of explained to him, like, I think that's almost like too much to ask,
Right.
like, as in she is probably on the go from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. and then, gets home, might want to go for a walk, go to the gym, and then, it's like...
But we're talking no texts. Like this person's come in and said no texts.
Yeah, it is a bit odd.
None is odd.
But
to
if
me.
if you want more communication with someone, like, you're allowed to be open and honest about that.
Open that door yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so have a chit chat to him and go, look, like, I really like you and I actually enjoy, finding out about how your day is and how things are going. And, when I'm not with you, if you I don't know if you want to be this open, but you can say, like, I miss you, I miss talking to you. So,
but I understand that would be off-putting for me. Like, I would think someone's not interested in me. So I see where you're coming from. I think, maybe just flag it, say, hey, or just text him. Try to instigate a few conversations yourself first. We don't need to open everything with a serious conversation. Just give him a little, hey, how you going?
I'll tell you what would definitely get him texting back.
Don't be shy.
Just talk a little dirty to him. Like, tell him you're really excited to give him a 5-second Frencher next time you see him.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Why did you just shiver?
That could end poorly. What if he doesn't reply? Then you've put yourself out there. You're embarrassed. Oh my God, no, but we just spoke about confidence. Do it. You should do it. What have you got to lose?
No, I mean, yeah. I think you just tackle it with him. You know, if it's something that you really need in a relationship and he's not going to give it, then, you know, maybe long term it's not going to work. But if it's something that you communicate to him, and, you know, he might not be good on his phone, but it's not out of not wanting to be on his phone. He's just like, he's never been like that. And maybe it's something that he can work on and shoot you a little cheeky good morning text in the mornings, or
my advice
if that's what you need.
Instigate the conversation.
Okay.
Don't have a serious talk about it yet. It's too soon.
Okay. Isn't honesty the best policy?
No.
They're starting a relationship. They both said to each other they really like each other.
Leave it in the dark.
Hey, I really like you. You really like me. But I'm just gonna pretend everything's all right and hope that you figure shit out and
start a couple of conversations. If it doesn't work, then have the chat. Hey.
Okay, and do the 5-second friendship thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Trust me.
That's
if Jad texted me
advice.
in the first couple of weeks and was like, "I can't wait to give you a 5-second friendship tonight," I would imagine not responding to that. You'd be an idiot.
You are.
I'd be like, make it 10.
You sound so. This is so like boomer of you.
Okay, all right, guys. Have a chit chat with him. That's my take. Jad's take is, oh my God, just let things flow and text him. See what happens.
All right. Look, we're agreeing to disagree here.
All right, guys.
Good luck
That
to
is our advice to you. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to help, but good luck, all the best, and DM me with how it goes. But guys, that's it for us from Mad About You. If you did have any questions or you wanted to tell a crazy dating story, ask us something. You can do that at madaboutyou@novapodcast.com.au. As always, it's a bloody pleasure having you. Thank you for supporting and listening to the pod. And if you don't leave a review, there will be
consequences.
Serious ones at that.
Serious. Okay. Thanks for coming. Bye.
See you guys.